on a Wednesday night. It is kind of an exciting topic, at least for families like mine who don't have a driver yet. I'm very looking forward to this. But I just wanted to present everyone who's going to be speaking tonight. First, we have a special guest, Erica Schwedel, who's going to talk to us briefly about the DOME project that's going on. I'm sure you've all heard about the, what's it called? Planetarium, thank you. Yeah. That they are trying to refurbish after 50 plus years of use and being the same. So she'll just briefly talk to us. And then our four special guests. First we have Jennifer Gariak from the Lewis School of Driving. And the Lewis School of Driving, most people I'm sure have seen the red car driving around town, has been in New Canaan since the 1970s at least, and seems like a New Canaan institution. And then we have Dave Benko and Alex Reinman from BTS Insurance. And this is another local favorite company that has long-standing roots, and they will tell us a different side of teen driving. And then finally, we'll follow up with Officer George Campanera, who will give us a much more serious side of it. But thank you, and we'll start with Erica.
So thank you, Meg, and thank you to the PFA for allowing the DOME committee to come up and speak for a few minutes. So as many of you may be aware, we have a planetarium in the high school, which is the good news. The challenge is it's 51 years old and has not been renovated at all. On top of that, the equipment is antiquated. And the last person in the nation who would that would update our equipment or maintain our equipment has retired. So we have this beautiful space, but we can't run the equipment we have anymore. So a group of us have embarked on a renovation project. We are looking to raise $850,000 for this project. We are a little over halfway through already. We have about 55%. And what the new equipment is going to allow us to do is really bring the space into the 21st century. It's going to be interactive and immersive, and it's going to go well beyond astronomy. So right now, when you think planetarium, you think of seeing the night sky, looking at the constellations. This new equipment and the new technology will allow us to go well beyond that. So we can present materials in the other sciences, so in chemistry, in biology. We can also go even beyond that to social studies, to the arts, to foreign language. There's a lot of opportunities of what we can do, and we really want to get beyond just high school. Right now, it primarily serves our high schoolers, but we're looking to make it K-12 and even beyond for our larger community. And students will be able to create in this new space, so they won't just be receivers of information. They will be able to make things in this space and be able to design and put productions up on the DOME as well. So there's a lot of exciting things that come with this new technology, but in order to get there, we need everybody's help. So I know some of you in the room have already donated to the project, and we're grateful for your support. We're hoping that the entire community will be a part of this. I'm here, Elizabeth is also in the back at the table, and she's one of the other committee members, and we'd be happy to answer any questions you have. We have a flyer you can take away, but we hope that you'll all be a part of this project. So thank you for letting me come for a couple of minutes and speak, and I will hand it over to you guys, and I'm looking forward to learning a lot. Thank you.
Hello, I am Jennifer Gariak, and I am a master instructor and the office manager at Lewis School of Driving. Marie usually is here. She is the owner, but she is not able to come tonight, so I am going to try to give you all the information that you need to get yourselves going with driving. So just wanted to show you on the website, most of our information really is on here, so you can get so much from here. One thing I think that's helpful initially, maybe to see, us. So here, I will show you some of us. This has a picture of me, Marie. Seema's on the bottom there. She does most of our Zoom classes. Rob is in the background up there, who is one of our most popular instructors. He's right back there in the middle. And those are some of the other instructors that we have as well. And we have some other ones that are not even in this picture, but just to kind of give you a visual of that. that's who we are. We've been, here since the 70s. Chester Lewis started the driving school initially. He was a police officer as well here in New Canaan. Marie took over the company probably the early 90s, and I've been with the company for almost 30 years as well, so long time. And, usually I deal with everybody with emails, with people calling. On the days of your road test, I'm usually the one that's there to assist you, to get you in the car and, get you your license. I'm not on the road as much, but I am an instructor as well. So besides that, wanted to let you see that, but also, the main thing I guess you guys want to know is what the process is. So to get your license in Connecticut, you have to be 16 years old. To start classroom, you can be 16 without a learner's permit, but you have to get a learner's permit in order to be in the car behind the wheel doing any driving. So you can get that permit by going on our website. We have these useful links at the bottom that I think are very helpful to kind of navigate and get you right where you need to be in order to make your appointment. So number one, you would go over here, it says schedule your DMV permit test, and that'll bring you right to the DMV. It does bring you sometimes to a waiting room, which I see right there. But usually, eventually, it'll pop into a spot where you can just make the appointment, and you'll have to go down for the test at the DMV. You can do it in the Norwalk DMV. I'll go out of there because I don't know how long it's going to take, but I'll go back to our website. So when you go down there, you want to make sure you prepare for the test. You need to study. It's not that easy. There is ways to study. You can go, there's a Connecticut Driver's Manual link right on our website as well, so that'll bring you right to that. So you can read right through it there. There's also an app you can download to your phone from the Connecticut DMV, and that you can also make your appointment right through the app on your phone as well. But that is that. We also have some study questions that we give out. Oh, I think I took away my Lewis. Sorry about that. But yeah, I left some study questions over on the table over there, so if you can use those to kind of help you prepare to get ready for your test. And then the earliest you can take your road test is 4 months from when you get your permit if you do the teen full course. On our website here, we also have the different options just to kind of make you understand a little bit more the different ways you can get your license. So option A is what majority of the kids do. That is the teen full course. That one is 15 classes that you do on Zoom. So it's 30 hours of classes because they're 2 hours each. One of those classes is the parent class that you need to attend. Your mom or your dad needs to attend with you on that class. And that's the only one that needs to be scheduled ahead of time, just so you know. And the rest of the classes, we kind of just do a drop-in. So you can see our calendar on our website, and I'll show it to you just so you can kind of see. But the classes don't need to be done in any type of order. You just have to get to each one of them before your road test, and that makes you eligible to test 4 months from when you got your permit. You also have to do 8 driving lessons with us, and then also you need to supplement at home because your parents are going to sign off that they did an additional 40 hours with you at home. You sign off on that when you do your road test. There's a form that you fill out, and that's basically how the DMV tracks that. If you didn't want to do that, you could do option B, which is basically just doing the mandatory classes, which is an 8-hour class. If you wanted to take your road test at our location, you have to do at least 2 driving lessons with us in order to be eligible. The DMV usually comes to us once a week for the road test. We have a group of kids that go out and take the test. Usually if we have a full test, it's 22 kids that go out on that one day and take the test. A minimum of 15 kids will go out. And, the majority of the kids do take the test with us only because you can't do the road test at the Norwalk DMV. You have to go to either Bridgeport, Hamden, or Danbury if you took it at the DMV. And obviously for you guys, it's especially helpful because you're right here in New Canaan and you can, you'll be familiar with the roads and you get a lot of practice here, and that is a big benefit to taking the test here. So all of our classes are on Zoom, which is kind of nice. I know you don't have the classroom part of it, but it is more convenient, at least you know, if you have sports and stuff like that. The classroom calendar is right on our website, so you can kind of see when they're available. It's just numbered 1 through 15, but you can see on here that usually we have a 6 o'clock class Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. On the Saturdays and Sundays, we have a 10 o'clock and a 12:30 class. And those classes, they can do both classes if they wanted to on the weekends. Any day there's no school, they can do up to 4 hours of class. So over the summer, we do the same thing, so they can kind of cram them in if they want to. And what else? To register for the classes, you can do it right on our website. You don't need to necessarily come into our office anymore. Since COVID, some things have changed. We used to have everybody come into the office, but we don't need that anymore. You can obviously come visit us because we are still there. But, you know, for the most part, you can get a lot done right on our website. And for the registration, if you wanted to see it there, and you don't need to do it really ahead of time, you can pretty much wait until they're 16 because the classes, they don't really fill up. The driving hours do back up a little bit. We've been very busy this year, which is great. But the summer, you know, is still kind of bogged down as far as the lessons. So I would say that once you do have a permit and you know, get registered with us, I would schedule driving lessons right away, just so you have them scheduled out, even if you're not doing it for another month. But you can start the other classes in the meantime. So I think that that's helpful because, again, the earliest they're going to be able to test is 4 months. If they did the other option, doing the minimum, you got to wait 6 months. So, you know, so you have some time for that. You know, it's up to you as far as the driving hours. But I would keep the last one at least close to when they're going to test, just because obviously we'll do a test review and just make sure they're all ready to go. So as you schedule them, initially you might want to schedule the first 2 as soon as possible, just so you feel more comfortable, you know, taking them out on your own, which I think is probably a good idea. You know, we don't expect you guys to know how to drive when you get in the car with us. So I know sometimes the kids want to go out with their parents just because they, I don't know, they're out with a stranger. So therefore they want to feel a bit more comfortable, but you know, we don't expect it. So it's really up to you and what you feel about that. The other thing is I left some tips for teaching your teen to drive over by the Waters over there too. So you guys are welcome to pick those up. I'll go through them just briefly, just to kind of give you some tips with that. So number one, a lot of things you can do now. You don't necessarily have to be, you know, they don't have to be driving to be able to learn to drive. They can be out there with you. You can kind of show them. A lot of times the kids, I feel like, it's the intersections and the right of way that they really don't quite get. I guess they don't pay as much attention. I guess nowadays they're all looking at their phones, so they don't necessarily pay attention to what you're doing. But, you know, if you have them put down the phone while you're in the car with them and kind of explain to them as you're going into an intersection, making a left at a light or whatever it is, just kind of really talk it through with them. That makes a big difference to help them when they're on their own. They'll understand it a little bit better and they won't be as confused. And once they are in the car and you're with them, I would say that, you know, just being good with the directions as far as, you know, don't give it to them last minute, just that, you know, all of a sudden you're telling them to make a right turn and you're there, you know, kind of say at the next block or the next intersection, at the next light, at the stop sign, make a right, and just kind of give them a little bit more time to be able to process that before they're going to go ahead and make that turn or whatever they're doing. You know, the other thing is too, as they're going through intersections and stuff, just as a new driver, initially they're just looking straight ahead. They're not really taking everything in, so that's a big part of it. They got to learn to scan the road, pay attention to not just obviously the road in front of them, but the pedestrians, the cars, the stop signs, the lines on the ground or whatever, all those different things that help and guide them to drive better. So pointing those things out as you're driving around, and then once they're on their own with you as well, to kind of point those things out, I think is helpful. A lot of the kids initially don't really know their lefts and rights. I don't know, they've never really thought about directions too much initially, so, you know, those things too, just kind of pointing that out to them, because we get that a lot with the new drivers in the car. They just, I don't know, maybe in sports you would think they would learn it a little bit, but I don't know, I don't think until they have to do directions, they don't really think about it. So, you know, it's another thing to work on. Yeah, and then that's, I don't know, pretty much it. Any questions?
Those 15 classes,
Mm-hmm.
do you have to take them all in order?
No. No, you can do them in any order, you just got to get to all 15. Once you're signed up with us, the lesson one is the only one that you have to sign up in advance for. So we call it like drop-in classes. That's the way we've always done it, even when we had it in the classroom. So basically, once they're enrolled with us, they'll be able to log into their student account, and on that very student account, we'll have the Zoom link on there for the day of that class. So today's class would have whatever lesson it was. It'll be posted in there, so they can just go into the class. They would be there for 2 hours, because it's usually 6 to 8 during the week. At the end, there's a quiz that they need to finish in order to get, credit for the class as well. We do require that they keep the camera on during the class. We want to make sure they're really there. That's the other part they do. We want to make, I know they sometimes try to do other things, but they got to physically be there. That is a DMV requirement, and that's one of the reasons we're able to do the Zoom classes. So, yeah. Any other questions? No? Well, we're there. You can reach us by email. You can call us. You can do whatever. We're definitely available usually to talk to you and to answer your questions. So if you don't think of something now, you can always reach out to us later. We look forward to having these lovely children with us and continue teaching them. So we appreciate, us having, you guys having us here. So, thank you.
Thanks for having us. We're subbing in for Tim Brown, our president, today. He's been doing this for a long time, ever since it started, and something he really enjoys. And we're happy to be here to talk to you guys about some of the ins and outs that happen when a teen driver starts driving and the insurance impacts. We both grew up here, have been driving in this town for many years. Things have changed a bit. We weren't really driving around with cell phones, and we didn't have big screens when we were driving, so a lot more distractions. But we still face a lot of the same issues that kids around here will have driving. Just today, driving, and yesterday, between the weather, the rain, the fog, all the leaves on the ground, narrowing the roads, just causing dangerous situations. It's just things that you have to think about when you're driving, and just being aware of your surroundings. We live in an area where there are a lot of cars on the road during the day. There are Amazon trucks everywhere. There are, people driving all over the place, but then we have really dark, narrow roads that are windy and not lighted, and so you really have to think about what you're doing while you're driving, and it'll have a lot of it can have an impact on you, physically, and then also the financial impacts that your folks are gonna, see, or can be substantial. So I'll let Alex give a little talk about our agency, then we'll come back and talk about some scenarios.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Dave. So a little background. Again, our agency principal is Tim Brown. He graduated from here in 1972, which means he saw this place be built, which means he's ancient. And a fun fact, Chet Lewis actually gave Tim Brown his first ticket, so there's a connection there as well. Dave graduated in 2000?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, bud.
Also ancient.
Also ancient. I'm 2006. So we really genuinely know New Canaan. Our office is on Pine Street. If you know where Zoombox is, by the amount of teens that I see getting coffee, which I didn't drink coffee when I was 16, but I guess that's a thing now, we're right halfway down that street. If you ever have any questions on any insurance-related things, let us know. We do home, umbrella, jewelry, but also we do auto. And thank you for having us to talk a little bit about the implications of auto. We've split this up into kind of a couple different sections. So there's a little bit for you parents. There's some for both of you, parents and kids, with some examples of some claims that Dave will share. And then I have a handout of just really, really basic stuff of if you get into an accident, because lots of times folks don't get into an accident, fortunately, for a really long time. And so it's something that you can put it right in the glove box if you need it. Whether you're calling us or calling your own personal insurance person, that's fine. Our agency's been here in town for 40 years. Like I said, we only do personal lines insurance. So the stuff that you and your family and your loved ones buy or care about, we try to protect those assets. And all of the leadership in our agency grew up here in town. And so we care deeply, not just about the town, but the people that live in it. And along with that goes young drivers. There's no shortage of young drivers. I was walking up Church Street today, saw a bunch of kids in some Rams soccer gear, none of you guys, I'm sure, ripping around down Church Street, honking horns, and flying around. And it's certainly fun to get the license. Our goal is not to scare you into not driving. It is merely to say, hey, driving is a privilege, not a right. We want you to enjoy the privilege. And so a couple of things to think about. So before Dave gets into some claims examples, a couple of things for parents. When you add your kid, your son or daughter, to your insurance policy, wherever that policy is, the price is going to go up, okay? That's something you can't escape. The different levels of how that might go up probably differ with the type of insurance company, but also with the type of car that your kid is going to drive. I know that the market was down today. As you drive around the New Canaan High School parking lot, there are some nice cars. There is no reflection of a downturn in the market at New Canaan High School. There always seems to be really nice cars that get in accidents. We know because we get the phone calls. So just know that the price will go up. A couple of things you can do is certainly talk to your insurance person. If you don't have one, feel free to talk to us, and we can at least give you advice on how to best list your driver on the different cars, and if there's something that makes sense. Maybe there's a driver that's away at school at college or boarding school that's far away. You can get some credits for that. Hopefully, I'm sure your students are good students, and if they have good grades, make sure you send that stuff in too. That said, there is going to always be a greater liability risk having a young driver. So that's not just the fender bender of you pull out with your Jeep Wrangler and hit somebody in the parking lot. That's a significant injury where somebody can then sue you after an accident because of some sort of really detrimental issue. And so what we want to do and what Dave is going to do is walk through a few examples. These are real examples, some of which are entirely happened here in New Canaan that we've had to deal with. And Dave and I have countless other examples. We won't bore you with too much, but it kind of drives home a little bit about what this is about. And after those claims examples, we'll walk through a couple basic details, and then we can take any questions that you guys have.
Yeah, the majority of our claims, people call in, and it's stuff like he said, fender benders, simple stuff that people throw it in reverse, don't look behind them, back into a stone wall, back into another car in the parking lot. I think we've gotten 10 in the last 2 years just in the New Canaan High School parking lot. We're just not paying attention. Simple awareness. So just being aware of your surroundings is a major thing. But sometimes it gets more serious. For instance, I had one that was kind of like the Super Bowl where a client's son just got a new car, had something to drink, drove through a stoplight, hit another car, totaled his car, totaled her car, and then 2 months later, they were getting called about taking care of her medical bills, her pain and suffering. And now he's being dropped from his insurance company. They had to tap in to his umbrella, which goes above the liability, so that's now a $4 million claim. It goes from very simple to very difficult quickly. One example Tim always talks about, and one funny thing, when I was starting to drive, my dad actually showed me where it happened, was when Tim was a senior, he was driving with another classmate who's also a friend of my dad's, and they had had a few drinks, and he was driving about 70 miles an hour on Smith Ridge Road, and decided they were going to pass the car in front of them, skidded out, went right into a telephone pole, and both suffered pretty significant injuries, one that you can still see on the other driver, and then power went out for, I think it was 1,400 residents. So when all was said and done and was in the paper, not only embarrassing, but they were lucky to be able to walk away from it. And but it impacted, their parents and the 1,400 people without power for a few days because of what happened. It was a tough thing, and they, luckily learned their lesson, but, it's, these things can be very small, but get very serious really quickly, so.
Yeah. Nice. All right, so let's, we'll take a quick example as I hand these things out, and then, hopefully that'll be helpful. I think the main point of this is really to just share that accidents happen, that's okay, and it's all about how you respond to it. So let's take an example. What is your name in the Rams soccer sweatshirt? Dylan. Dylan, okay. I had a feeling it was gonna be Dylan. So if Dylan is going to go to the Turkey Bowl later this year, and he's driving out of this parking lot because he and his friends meet before coming to get together to carpool over there, and they get in an accident driving to the Turkey Bowl here on South Avenue at the intersection. I've seen it happen a bunch of times. And you get in an accident with some old crusty crustacean guy with a mustache, and he is driving a nice car, and you're a little nervous about what to do. This is the blueprint, okay? This is just us trying to help you figure out the situation. So I'm gonna hand this out. I will tell you, and this is just a good little piece here, make sure you proofread because there's a grammatical error in here. It's not supposed to be in there. I will point it out, but just know that as you go through school, stay in school. So the first one is accidents happen. And so I'm gonna hand these, and if you can just pass them down, that would be dynamite. Thank you so much. Okay, so the first one is accidents happen. So when you get in an accident, it can be really, really nerve-wracking. And I use that example because I got in an accident on an overpass over the Merritt Parkway with a big truck, and my fender was torn up and his car was fine, and he essentially raced off. And I felt really, really bad about it. I was 16 years old. I'm 34 now. It's obviously still with me. So this is the same kind of example. So Dylan, you're gonna pull out with your friends, you're going to the Turkey Bowl, and you get in an accident with some old guy. First and foremost, you wanna make sure that you're safe. So if anybody's injured, you're obviously gonna wanna make sure that any sort of paramedics get there, that the police get there. Don't be afraid to call them. There's a piece on here that says call the police. I think there's a common misnomer, which is if you get in an accident, and it's not a big accident, you don't have to call the police and you can get away. You're not gonna necessarily get in trouble for that, but I will tell you it's far worse if it's an accident of any decent size or even a small size. It's far worse for this gentleman to come to your house and say, it's come to my understanding you were in an accident, as opposed to coming to the scene and saying, hey, you're in an accident, let's make sure that everybody's okay. So, in the event you get in an accident, make sure you call the police, make sure that you and your passengers are safe, and then you can call your insurance person. So you're gonna have an ID card in the car. You're gonna have your registration in the car. When you get in an accident, you're gonna exchange that information with the other person, okay? If the other person tries to run away or say you don't have to call the police, wrong. Typically that is somebody trying to get out of having done something bad. The one silver lining of everybody having cell phones is if you get in an accident, we encourage everybody to take photos and videos of absolutely everything we get out of the car. Because that way there's proof of exactly what it was and somebody doesn't drive away. If you're afraid of calling your parents, you can call your insurance person first. You get phone calls. We've gotten calls from people that said, I'm afraid to call my mom, this is what happened. And then we can go and we can do a little counseling as well. And we say, everything okay at home. But we want to be here to help you in any capacity. So this is simply something to put in there. If you get in an accident, it could be the smallest thing. Don't sweat it. They're going to happen. Everybody gets in accidents. People will occasionally get tickets. It's going to be okay. But make sure that you're safe. You call the right people for help because all these people are here to help you. And then make sure that the insurance gets involved if it needs to be. You can call us, and even if it's not a claim, we can just say, hey, you're the order of operations. Let's get this thing fixed, get you on your way, and then that way you're not worrying about it. So that's that. Dylan, thank you for not getting in the accident this time of year. So with that little piece, I'll leave it to Dave for any final thoughts, and then any questions that anybody has. We'll go over to that.
No, I think you nailed it. I think just to go on what Jen had to say about practicing while they're not driving, just kind of pointing things out, but also taking them out to safe places when there are elements, to kind of get used to when it's slick out and they're sliding. A wide open parking lot, for instance, just so they can kind of see, you're never going to be perfect at doing this. Situations, your mentality changes, but any kind of practice is definitely helpful. Nice job, Alex.
Yeah. Hey, thank you guys for having us. Any questions that we can answer on anything at all, from car insurance to what Buchanan High School looked like in 2001?
At what age can they actually get out and start driving? You might have covered that earlier, but.
Yeah, no, we didn't. It's a great question. So once they get their driver's license, not their permit, their license, and what's interesting is in the state of Connecticut, this is not the same in all states, because we do coverage for all 50 states, and it's not the same. In Connecticut, you're going to get a 9-digit number on your permit. That 9-digit number is going to be the same exact thing as your driver's license number. So after those, I believe you said it was 4 months before you can take that test. Once you get your driver's license, you get added to policy. The second they get that, driving, and I think now, before you get the card, they might give you a piece of paper, but you're going to have a driver's license, they can go right away. I know, because my mom was walking on South Avenue, and the day my brother got his license here at Buchanan High School, she said, "Don't leave the school for lunch," and he flew by in a Subaru going to the sandwich. So you can go day one. The main thing there is, once your son or daughter gets their license, not their permit, their license, you add them to the insurance policy. And that's critical, because some insurance companies will automatically cover you. Chubb, Berkeley One, Pure, Cincinnati. Some will not. The Geico's, Allstate, State Farm, if they're not listed on the policy, there could be a gap in coverage, and Johnny gets in a car accident day one, and there's no coverage there. So it's more about staying vigilant there. Does that answer the question, by the way?
Well, so during the phase of learning,
Yep.
and I'm assuming the permit comes first, right?
Yes.
And then you get out on the road, you learn.
Yeah.
You're not covered if you're not telling your insurance company.
So that, you can't, so that's great, okay, I understand the question. So if you are a permitted driver, you cannot be added to an insurance policy. So when you have the permit, you're driving with a parent, and you have what's called permissive use. So they're going to be covered there. So if you've got a permitted driver, and you say, we're going to go to Wave Mead and practice parking. If they get in an accident, they hit a car, there's going to be coverage there. Day one, your son or daughter goes and parks a car with a driver's license and hits a car, different story. So typically what people do, and we prefer to have a little bit more of a heads up, is they say, hey, I'm at the DMV, we're third in line, and my son's about to get his license. And so then we've got to add them right then and there. And it's okay, you can do it retroactive, but if you say, hey, Johnny's going to get a license on this day next week, we can add him effective that date in a week or two before whatever it is, and make sure that it's there. But that's important, especially depending on who the insurance company is. I can't stress that enough, because you don't want to be out of pocket 1, 2, 5, 10, 50 grand for getting some car. Does that answer it? Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Great question. Anybody else? Awesome. Well, thank you for having us. Contact info is at the bottom there, but separately, thanks for the attendance. Safe driving is critical. So, with that, hand it off.
Evening, how are y'all today? Just gonna close this if I can. Okay. My name is Officer Caponera. Been with New Canaan Police for 12 years now. 2 things I do primarily. I focus on training of all new recruits who are fresh out of the academy, the field training officer. One of the big aspects of field training is we make them learn every road, from the most obscure roads to the main roads, north, south, east, west, direction of travel. And we take driver safety as a pretty big mission in this town. So a couple things I want to talk about here. One, I did leave some handouts, around 15 copies. This is the biggest group I've seen so far. So there might not be enough for everyone, but they are on the Department of Connecticut motor vehicle website. And it's the 16 and 17-year-old safe driving laws, restrictions, all the rules that you need to know for your teen driver. So there's a stack over there. Feel free to take one on the way out, but otherwise they are available on the website. And that covers everything for curfew violations, passenger restrictions, everything like that, in case you forget something I talked about tonight. One of the things I just want to touch on first is we get a lot of stolen cars in this town, which a lot of people don't seem to still be aware of. Last year we had over 100. So I think this year we're doing a lot better. We're only around 25 or so this year, but we have around 300 or so cars entered every year. So that's where someone left their car unlocked, and we've had everything from an engagement ring hidden in the car to purses, wallets, and they're gone when they get back. The big thing we've been getting lately is smash and grabs during daylight hours at Waveney Park, Irwin Park, Mead Park. Someone leaves their purse or a valuable right in the front seat, and they come back and they got a huge hole in their window at 10 in the morning, and everything's gone. So recommend leave it in the trunk. Please lock your cars at night. Please put your keys in your house. Stop leaving them in the cars. We've had everything from a McLaren worth $1 million stolen out of a driveway last year to Honda Civics. They go for everything. We had 5 people arrested last week alone. Last Wednesday, 3 a.m., they came from Bridgeport and Norwalk, and we cornered them on the street, and they were all arrested. They had a gun in their possession, so don't confront them. Call 911. Don't shout at them from the window, as some people have been doing, because then you give them the heads up before we get there. Just call us right away. This is a great town to live in. Your neighbors are probably not going to break into your car here, but the people from Bridgeport, Norwalk, the Bronx is our most recent one as well, Staten Island, Newark, New Jersey, they're all coming up here. The McLaren, we traced that guy down to Florida. They were coming up the entire Eastern Seaboard, hitting towns along the whole way with a rented car. And believe it or not, it was New Canaan that figured out where they came from. So it's random. They're coming from everywhere. Just use good caution. They check door handles. They're looking for easy scores. They're not looking to confront people at their houses. That's why they're coming in the middle of the night. So just lock everything up and you'll probably never have an issue with them. I live in Stamford. My whole house is wired up with cameras inside and out. I work a lot of nights. My family's home alone. I want to make sure they're safe. And every few days I get an activation. Somebody with a hooded ski hood on or whatever, hoodie, is in my driveway shaking my door handles. I tell my wife, well, we had another attempted break-in of our cars last night, and it happens all the time. And it's everywhere. So just keep your outdoor lights on. If you've got cameras, make sure they work. If you've got alarm systems, use them. And please stop leaving the keys in the car, because that is our biggest problem. So talking about safe driving now, a couple myths that I get, questions I get every year, the common myths. We do not have a quota in the state of Connecticut for tickets. There is no quota. It's actually a law. So we keep track of everything in New Canaan. Stats on everything: dog bites, burglaries, alarms, domestic violence, everything and anyone. We do not keep track of how many tickets we issue, because that is not allowed to be asked to our officers. You can ask them to set up and do enforcement. You can have them stop cars, but you cannot ask an officer to write a ticket unless there was a car accident, or if there was, then you can say, yes, you have to write the ticket because he hit her and we have to take enforcement action. Or if there's like a DUI or something like that. That's the only exceptions. So we don't track it. So my first and only real question is, why do we write tickets then? If there is no quota, why are we writing tickets? Because we do write tickets. Anyone have a guess? Is it for money? What's that? Yeah.
If I'm scared of getting a ticket, I'll probably drive.
It's the correct bad driving behavior. That's the only real way that we've realized that gets through to people. Verbal warnings are, as long as they kind of acknowledge the bad behavior and they kind of give us maybe an assurance that they messed up and they're going to try better, we'll issue the warning. But there are some people who are just, that's fine, you can deny. We are required by law to go based on our observations. We don't need your admission. As long as we observed it and we're willing to swear to it under oath, then it's acceptable ticket, and we will issue the ticket, and it's mostly to correct the bad driving behavior. I think we can all agree that we don't want someone going past our house at 30 miles an hour over the limit. But that happens every day in this town, every single day. So that's why we stop those cars, and that's why we write those tickets. So we don't have a quota in the state of Connecticut, and all the money we raise for our ticket revenue in New Canaan and all the other towns and cities goes to the state coffer. It goes to the Hartford General Fund. It even says on the ticket envelope we give you, Hartford, Connecticut. So New Canaan doesn't get anything. It doesn't fund our budget, it doesn't fund police cars, it doesn't help us in any way. We only do it, again, to correct bad behavior. So there is no financial incentive. That's big in the southern states where they fund their police departments that way and municipal services. We don't do that in the Northeast. That's not allowed. And we don't have quotas. We also don't have red light cameras. I get a lot of that question as well. So we have live traffic cams, but they're not recording. So whenever you see like the News 12 camera, that's a live shot that they can't go backwards and review it. And we can't access it for anything other than just live streaming. So we don't have traffic cameras. That's big in New York City. If you run a red light in New York City, you're probably gonna get what's called a civil fine, 2 weeks mailed to you. It goes to the registered owner. And they'll just charge you $100, but there'll be no points in your license because they don't know who was driving the car. So it's a civil fine versus if you get a ticket from me, it's a criminal fine. We do have cameras on our school buses. And when a stop sign is out, if you don't stop, even if it's in the cul-de-sac of the high school and you drive past it, that's the big problem with the kids. But on the road, it's almost exclusively seems to be the adults driving past them. It's a $475 fine the first time. It's a misdemeanor arrest in custody the second time. It's one of the only driving offenses that can result in an arrest in this state. So when you see a school bus, turn the amber lights on, stop. When you see the stop sign, come to a full dead stop right there and don't move because they come in every day. I pulled up a few stats. I think we've had 8 school bus violations in the last 10 days alone. So 8 people in this town have driven past a school bus that was picking up kids or dropping off kids in the last 10 days. 8 people were issued tickets for $475. That will probably raise your insurance. That will probably and the next time you do it, you'll get a misdemeanor arrest, and you will be in the criminal justice system now. So be careful about the school buses. The bus drivers are mandated to report. They come in with a DVD of the surveillance footage. We review it. It's usually very clear cut. We will track the person down. If they live out of town, we will send them a certified letter with the ticket inside of it. That's it. It's now up to the courts to deal with. Those are the main things I usually get asked about. So I want to just talk about some of the highlights of what you can expect as a driver now. So first and foremost, driving is a privilege. It is not a right. Can anybody give me an example of a right? What does that mean? How about the right to free speech, right? First Amendment, we've all heard that one. Free press, free assembly, which means you can protest in public. That's what those rights mean. Those are rights, so what that means is the government, i.e. me, can't just come in and tell you to stop doing that. Driving is not in the Constitution, so it is not a right. It is a privilege. So because it's a privilege, it is very heavily regulated. There's over 400 motor vehicle laws in the state of Connecticut alone. So we can pretty much find a violation on any car at any time. A lot of them are truck related, but plenty of them are just standard passenger car related. So because it's a privilege, if you get stopped by the police, there's a lot more leeway officers have at a car stop versus if we had a consensual encounter with you walking down the street or if we knocked on the front door to your house, because you do have a right to privacy in your own home. We can't just walk into your home unless we have consent or a search warrant or an exigent circumstance. Somebody's in there choking. We don't need your permission to come in. We can come in and try to help them. But in your car, we can detain your car. We can detain you for an extended period of time. We can search the car if we have some sort of reasonable suspicion of a weapon or probable cause of drugs or alcohol. So we have a lot more leeway with vehicles than we do with cars. So it's a privilege. It's not a right. That's kind of what that means. So when you get pulled over by a cop and a lot of times, do I have to do this? Or, is that allowed? Yes, it usually is because, again, it's not a right. So I kind of just touched on this, but there are many exceptions to the search warrant rule that apply mostly just to motor vehicle law, not your personal homes or your papers or your stuff like that in your house, your computer. We need search warrants for cell phones. We don't need search warrants to enter cars. Just to give you an idea of an example of that. Your cell phone is considered a protected paper, but your car is pretty much kind of a free domain. So what does that mean for you teenage drivers? Well, if you have friends in the car one day, 3 buddies, and this happens a lot in this town, and one of your friends has drugs on them, and we end up using the canine, or we find some sort of probable cause, and we find the drugs, we can charge everyone in the car now. So the friends you put in the car really matters. So if your friends in the car are carrying something, it doesn't matter if you didn't know. You can get cited as well as them. So, when you're the driver of that car, be sure you know who you're letting in that car, because it does matter. The other big thing is DUI driving under the influence. We used to call it driving while intoxicated. We've switched it now to DUI, which means driving under the influence of alcohol and/or drugs. Marijuana is now surpassing alcohol for DUI arrests. Marijuana will get you arrested for DUI. We can do field sobriety tests at the scene, the same we do for alcohol. We will bring you back and we will do a urine test on you to see if you are over the influence of marijuana. We will also do one breath sample to confirm if you are under the influence of any alcohol as well. But I've usually found that they don't mix. So if the guy's smoking weed, they don't usually drink alcohol as well, but we do one and one anyway. That is going to cause a whole headache of criminal and civil issues for you down the road. But the big thing I hear a lot of people now saying is, well, marijuana is legal, so it can't be that bad. I go, well, it might be legal, but it's not legal to drink and drive, and it's not legal to smoke weed and drive, and it's certainly not legal to do any other narcotics and drive. So just keep that in mind. The big thing nowadays, I'm sure you guys are now aware, this used to be a newer one. We all have body cameras. I push play. Anytime you see a police officer talk to you in the public, chances are that body camera is recording. Every car stop, it's recording. We only just don't turn them on during medical calls. But everything else, we turn them on for. It is fair game. It's recognized by the courts as legal. It's to protect both the person and the officer. Anytime someone, uses a bunch of four-letter words at me, I go, okay, I understand. I just write them on the back of my ticket. Every ticket has a report. It's called an incident report to go along with it. We submit that ticket to the court. When you show up to court, the judge will read all your exact words you said. So you can yell at us. You're allowed to. I would recommend you avoid it only because the judge will see this and they usually don't offer the person, the first-time offender, pay the fine, do the charity donation, and we'll wipe this from your record. That's usually the standard first offense in the state of Connecticut for tickets. Pay $100 to the Make-A-Wish Foundation and we'll wipe this from your record. But when they see all those, choice language, they kind of say, no, you know what? We're going to charge you, or you can go to trial. So body cameras are on, just beware. And I always say to the kids, just behave. Motor vehicle crashes, the big question I get, there is no such thing as stop short in the state of Connecticut. So the majority of the car crashes are when someone rear ends someone in front of them, usually at a light or someone's just distracted in traffic looking at their phone. There is no, the first and only response I always hear is, well, he stopped short. Doesn't matter. State of Connecticut says clearly, the vehicle in the front always has the right of way. Now this protects all of you too. If someone hits you from behind, you can rest assured you're most likely not at fault. It doesn't matter if you were going slow, it doesn't matter if you were braking because you're looking at every mailbox trying to find out which house is your friend's house, that's okay. If they hit you from behind, they're at fault. Just pull over, put your hazards on, call the police, we'll come and sort it all out. But there is no such thing as stop short. The vehicle in front of you, you're supposed to always be at least 3 car lengths back. It's called failure to drive a reasonable distance apart, so just keep your distance. If you can't see the tires meet the road, the bottom of the tire touching the road, you're too close, so just back up a little bit. The big other thing is kids and seat belts. If you're 7 years old or 70 pounds or less, you have to be in a child protective seat. If anyone in the car is not, and the driver, regardless of age, will lose their license and be ticketed. So make sure all children are always in car seats. Talked about the traffic cameras, parents. So one of the big things I've learned is a lot of kids don't know where they are a lot of times. When they stop, because we are 911 dispatchers too. So once a week I'm on the desk answering 911. And they'll say, hey, I was just in a car accident. I'm like, okay, well, where are you? And they don't know. Now I can usually ping the cell phone and just trace them. Okay, I see where you are, kind of. I'll send officers to that area. But a lot of times they don't know. So when you parents are driving your kids, one of the things I teach all the new recruits right out of the academy, every street we drive by, I say, what was that street? They're on East Avenue, heading towards 123. What street did we just pass? And they're like, I have no idea. I go, well, you weren't looking because the sign was clear as day, so back up, go look, and read it out loud to me. And I make them turn the car around and go all the way back to that street just to read it out loud. So that's a good trick I've learned to make kids learn the road. Have them call out the street signs to you as you drive by. It'll become so second nature, they'll probably do it without you even asking them to do it after just like a month or so. But that makes them learn the roads much more quickly. The other thing is, don't take the same way home you took to wherever you were going. So if you took South Ave to the Merritt Parkway, when you get off the Merritt Parkway, take Old Sanford Road back up to South Ave. Take a different way to learn different routes. The more roads you expose your kids to, the better. The big thing we can tell when we go to an accident right away, we're looking for skid marks to see if it was a bad accident. We're looking to see, did the person make an effort to brake? If they didn't make an effort to brake, that kind of indicates to us you were distracted. Easiest way to tell if somebody was braking, skid marks on the road. Skid marks are not caused by the rubber from your tire when you hit the brakes. They're caused by the friction of the braking of the tire hitting the oil of the road, and the oil rises up and makes that mark. So it's nothing to do with your tires and the rubber. It has to do with the oil on the roadway. So we can measure that. We can take a measurement of that thing, and we can actually calculate how fast you were going and how long you were trying to slow down for as part of our accident. And if you don't have any of that, we just know, well, you didn't even try to stop, so you were clearly distracted, and that goes into our accident report as well. So, come to the things here. All right, so one of the things I want to stress on here is that all driving offenses in the state of Connecticut are adult crimes. When you're 16 years old and you're driving a car and you hit we just had this last Saturday, you hit a telephone pole and you flee, that's evading. If you get caught with alcohol, that's DUI. And it's an adult charge. If you're 16 years old, guys, you will be brought to the adult booking. You will be fingerprinted and photographed as an adult. Anything else in the state of Connecticut, if you're a juvenile, and we will bring you up with one of the kids who broke into the cars last week was 16. All the others were 20. He was the only one who got brought upstairs into the youth officer's office. We pretty much gave him like a soda, waited with him until his parents showed up at 5 a.m., very annoyed with him. But he was not booked the way he was. He was given a summons to go to juvenile court. His name will stay out of the paper. He will be protected by law. But a 16-year-old drinking and driving will be put into the criminal adult system. So all driving offenses are adult crimes in the state of Connecticut. Passenger restriction, we just had one today. If you guys get caught driving with friends in the car, you will lose your license for probably 6 months. Don't let your friends because your friends won't get in any trouble. You can have 1 or 2 or 3 friends in the car. We will ID them. Once we stop the car, if you were under the age of 18, the first thing we will do is look at the passengers and say, let's see your IDs. If you're not a direct sibling or a family member, you're going to lose the license. If there's no one to take the car, we're going to have to tow it because we can't. Now you lost your license immediately for 24 hours. You're going to lose it for 6 months once the court convicts you, and we're going to have to tow the car from the scene. So just keep in mind, 16 to 17-year-old, there are passenger restrictions. That's covered detail in the packet over there for you guys. But pretty much, first 6 months of having a license from day one, you can only have a parent in the car or a driving instructor. That's it. Not even a sibling. Second 6 months of having your license, you can have siblings in the car and your parents and a driving instructor, of course. 1 year and 1 day from receiving your license, whether you're 17 or whatever, it doesn't matter, you have full driving privileges. 18 years old, though, is still the cutoff for a curfew. Curfew in the state of Connecticut is 11 p.m. to 5 a.m. If you're seen on the roads after 11 p.m., we're going to take your license and issue you a ticket. There are a couple exceptions. One is school events. Prom is the easy example. If it's prom night, that we get it. We understand that is allowed. But if it's a random Thursday night and you're saying there's a big event at the school and we didn't hear about it, chances are we're going to say that doesn't sound right. We're going to issue you the ticket, and you can show the proof in court while you're out at 2 a.m. on a Thursday night. So there is exceptions for that, and employment. If you had just left work and you're in your apron from a restaurant in town, it's 11:30, that's okay as well. It's also relative to when the event ended. So if the event ended at midnight, prom again, for example, but it's 4 a.m, that won't be an acceptable excuse anymore. So we talked about that. So the big thing I know, talk about driving, a few people ask questions. You need 40 hours behind the wheel before you can take your road test, I believe. So 40 hours, I would recommend at least 140 hours, 100 with the parents, 40 with the instructor maybe, or some combination, because kids today, we're definitely becoming more reliant on the backup cameras and all this stuff, and they should learn how to really parallel park, reverse, navigate a 3-point turn on a road, and be comfortable enough doing it that you feel safe leaving them by themselves with it. Because a lot of times, almost all my accidents involving teen drivers are just minor fender benders where the person just was in a bad situation, didn't know how to pull out that parking space, or didn't know how to get around that car that was broken down at the red light or something like that, and they kind of just go for it. And then as a result, there's now an accident. Okay. We talked about the keys in the car. So the last thing I want to leave you guys with is the number one cause of death in the state of Connecticut for 15 to 19-year-olds is car crashes, year after year. So guys, wear your seatbelts, pay attention to the road, don't look down at your phones, because it is unfortunately still a big problem, despite the fact how safe cars have gotten. And for all parents out there, just know that there is no, a teen, a 16 or 17-year-old is not allowed to be on their cell phone, even if it's hands-free, Bluetooth talking to you, until they turn 18. So if we see a kid driving down the road and they're talking, it doesn't matter if it was hands-free or not. You can't use the phone while you're driving until you're 18 years old, even if it's a Bluetooth hands-free call. So you have to completely pay attention. If your parents are calling you, either call them back later or pull over to a parking lot or somewhere safe, wait for them, and then call them back. But you can't do that. You can't push the Bluetooth feature in your car and just answer while you're driving. That's not allowed. Right now is our big distracted driving awareness this month alone by chance. So it's a zero tolerance for cell phones for anyone right now. So just be really careful on that one. And that's about it. Does anybody have any questions? No? Like I said, the packets are over there, so help yourselves. All right, thank you.
Well, I thought that was very enlightening and a little scary, but I greatly appreciate all of your help. It was very interesting. So thank you so much.
Thank you.